Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and sitting across from me in a beautiful blue dress, like a professional business lady, Londa, Sherwood, Austin, and honey, you look spectacular today.
Thank you.
I love your eye makeup. Let me point that out. One of our daughters is visiting, and she had some super cool eye makeup yesterday, so I brought up in front of you how cool it was, and you came in today with fancy eye makeup. I really like it. I think you're pretty.
Thank you. I have terrible allergies, so I have to be really careful, so I almost never use it.
Right.
Today I did because I cannot have my daughter stand me up like that, or whatever the saying is.
I think you used it because you think I think it's necessary. And let me tell you something.
I just think it's fun and fancy and flirty.
You are fun, fancy, and flirty.
I don't know.
Which is like a makeup line.
Which, by the way,
yes,
it is now finally Facebook official, and we can talk about our kids who are here with us right now.
Well, I would love to talk about that, but I don't want to be the one to say it out loud.
A big congratulations to our daughter, Andrea, who has become officially Mrs. Robinson.
That's exactly right. She and Samuel Robinson got married. They eloped and came here for their honeymoon, ironically, while we were in Washington. And now that we're back from Washington, the honeymoon is over, but the vacation continues.
Yes.
And they're at our house.
We're going on an airboat ride this afternoon.
That's going to be fun.
We're going to a fancy dinner tonight.
Fancy dinner.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's been a great time, but big congratulations to those kids.
What a cool deal.
Yeah.
And they're just a lovely couple. And I like that kid because he's goofy and funny, but really handsome. He reminds me a little bit of me.
Yeah.
And not the really handsome part, but the goofy and funny
she reminds
part.
me a little bit of me.
She reminds me a lot of you, which is why I have an unnatural closeness with her.
Yeah, so they were friends. So it's not unusual. It's not unusual is not the word I want to use. It's not all that crazy that they were friends.
Right.
They knew each other for a couple of years and then became closer friends. They were like peripheral in circles that would cross over each other, and then inside circle, and then all of a sudden started dating kind of out of nowhere a couple months ago and ran off and got married.
I think when they started...
Sounds familiar.
Yes. I think when they started dating, though, they were... just kind of hanging out, because that's what the kids do now. They talk, and you know what I mean?
I don't know.
And she told me a beautiful story, and I'm not going to play it as part of this episode, but I actually have the audio of a conversation she and I had on the air here. We haven't used it. It's just for my benefit.
No, but we have it in case we need it for blackmail.
Right. And she told me all about how they were seeing each other and just having fun and not wanting to commit because she was fresh out of a relationship. And so they hung out essentially until she felt comfortable going on a formal date. And that kid, Sam, planned out...
Man, he did it.
...the first 3 dates. Not one date, but 3. And he said to her, and it's the cutest thing ever, on date 4, I'll just propose.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened.
Well, almost, but...
And, you can talk about how quick it was and how, how could they possibly know so soon?
Oh, I would never say that.
But we didn't date at all before we got married.
Right.
We were friends working together. And I had done your home loan years and years earlier. And
Which is how we originally met.
That's right. And I was always very fond of you. And when I would see you and your kid's dad out in public, I would always be drawn to the two of you.
Sure.
What a fun time. And that was the extent of our relationship. And then when you got into real estate, I didn't call on you because your other daughter, Danielle, married to a lender.
Right. But eventually we started
working together.
Because you're cute.
Well, that's not why I started working with you. I started working with you because you are a boss
shots
babe.
fired.
No, I started working with you because you're a boss babe. And let me just say this, and then I'll get off the topic.
Okay, good.
You were way too attractive for me to hit on. You were not in my field of vision.
Absolutely.
For that.
But I felt the same about you. And now let's get off that because nobody cares about this. They've heard it a million times.
Well, there you go.
Moving on.
But we were a thing for 3 weeks before our marriage.
Yep.
So,
happy house anniversary, by the way.
Yes.
Today is 1 year since we signed the papers on our Florida home.
That's right. And it was just going to be a vacation home, and now we're here
really was.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for losing your mind, Washington State, so we could stay here.
It wasn't all that. I mean, 2 months after we signed the papers, I started getting weird test results.
Right, that's
with
true.
my health, and then all hell broke loose.
That's true.
Speaking of which,
yes,
can't even see the bandage.
You got new bandages today?
I got new
waterproof bandages. You had a cancer removed?
I did. Yeah, another cancer this year.
Mm-hmm.
And now we just have to wait for the results of one more biopsy from my back, and I think we'll be in the clear.
And I think your back is fine. I don't know that they're actually going to biopsy it. When I listened to her, she was like, we know there's just a little spot left, so we're just going to take it now. And that is not cancer, as she said. That's mild precancer.
Right. Yes.
I don't mean to cut
And they
you
are
off.
sending it for biopsy because they need to make sure they got all of it, because it's not basal cell carcinoma.
Correct.
It is the other one with an M. The people listening know what we're talking about. It's anyway. No matter. I'm on the mend, and we're getting back, and thank goodness. And what a great customer service experience I had.
And that's why this is an important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
We had an entire show about customer service in healthcare.
Yes.
And it is as though your dermatologist listened to it beforehand and then met with us, because she did all the right things. Tell me a little bit about that, because I thought it was a fascinating difference between your story of the trauma you actually went through with your other cancer and that entire treatment.
Yeah.
Versus the experience here with your skin treatment. I thought it was fascinating. The differences are vast.
Well, the dermatologist that I went to, in her office, there's a plaque on the wall. She's actually been awarded for her compassionate care.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting because it really shows. She communicates well. She asks questions rather than coming in and sitting in the chair, getting the chart and she came and stood right next to me and actually put her hand on me, which for me, and actually studies show, physical touch is a very calming thing for people. So she did that. When she was looking at my neck, she had the other hand on my shoulder, and just being very peaceful. Her vibe was very peaceful, very relaxed. She's on a schedule, I'm sure, but it didn't feel like it at all. So, and then just her candor and conversation, and you know, I get very anxious at these appointments, so I've got to create conversation, but I couldn't really talk all that much. Right. Usually I'm chattering away, but I had to keep my, body still. I really would have preferred being asleep, but they don't do that for that procedure. And I came through it fine, and it was really due to her care. I started, we've talked about in the show before the idea of form, which is how you build rapport with a person. You ask them questions about their family, occupation, recreation, what they like to do for fun. And then, maybe their dreams, or maybe a message that you want to share with them or they want to share with you. That's where the acronym comes from. But I just started asking her about her work and, how did you get into dermatology, and tell me more about that. And that's really all I had to say. And she had a very long story that took most of the time that she was doing the surgery on my neck. So it was great.
And because you were engaged in the story, you were not in a position to panic or feel anxious.
Right.
And that was great.
Right. And you were there. I'm so
That's
glad that, in Florida anyway, you were allowed to come with me, and that was fantastic. And so, I could lock eyes with you, and and that was great. The whole thing could have been disastrous for me in a full panic attack and all that kind of thing, and I have done that before, but it was very calm, and I can't believe I sat through a surgical procedure on my neck
awake with just local anesthesia
and no panicking.
Yeah.
Now, I may have had just a tiny little bit of help for my nerves from Washington State. But that's all I'm going to say, and we're not going to go deeper into that, and you're going to move right on.
Okay, I won't mention anything that has to do with indica or gummies or any of that or any of the milligrams, none of that. I don't know anything about it.
We don't know anything about that, but it was fantastic care at Watson Clinic, and I was very, very happy with the whole thing. So I'm looking forward to getting out of this and moving forward. And in fact, I'm moving forward so much that I started Christmas shopping this morning.
Which I think is odd.
You might think it's odd, but it's something I actually wanted to mention on our show, that economists all over the place are predicting a rise in prices. Now, prices of items typically rise beginning in November anyway, every year, because the holidays, right? And capitalism. So, however, they're predicting even more of a rise. In fact, I was watching a news report the other day, and the reporter was talking about interviewing a farmer who was a huge farm. I can't remember the details of it, but he was saying, we can expect to see an increase in the price of groceries by probably 60% next year, because the increase to farmers currently. And so I thought that was interesting. And they were saying, don't hoard, but, if you have dry ingredients or whatever that you typically use, maybe buy some extra now, blah, 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 whatever. And then I think it was the Today Show that was talking about, because of rising prices, shortages of materials, goods, that Christmas might be a little challenging to shop for this year. So get your shopping done now. And I am.
And here's the story that I saw also on the Today Show that I thought was fascinating. Because of COVID and people not being able to go out and shop, Amazon and Walmart have hired a huge, big fat gang of truckers. I mean, hundreds and thousands of truckers have been hired away from their regular route jobs to be able to move goods across the country for Amazon and Walmart, right?
Wait, so now is that creating a shortage of drivers for other
Here's
things?
the thing.
Because you have to go to driving school.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the thing. There are so few truckers running their regular routes that the international ports that bring in all of the goods from overseas are stacked up. At the Port of Los Angeles right now, there are over 70 ocean liners with cargo, those big containers, stuck just out past the outer marker, sitting, anchored.
Just hanging out in that oil-filled water.
Waiting for truckers to be available so they can go into the port and deliver their goods. So the port's now seeing about 17 loads per day. There are 77 tankers out there, not tankers, but cargo ships out there.
Are they barges? I don't know.
Well, they're huge. They're not barges. They're huge cargo ships.
Okay, and they have lots of containers.
Thousands of shipping containers. Well, think of it this way. Those shipping containers go on the flat part of a truck trailer and drive it away. So if thousands of truckers are gone, and let's say there are 500 containers on every ship.
Okay.
500 truckers are needed for one ship. There are 77 ships out there. And those truckers are driving for Amazon, because how's Amazon going to get their stuff there? So I got to tell you, it is causing a supply chain nightmare for international goods.
And you can't get, like I was saying, you can't just go out and drive truck. You have to have special licensing.
Correct.
There's often classes.
That's right.
But I would say to someone who's looking for a career right now,
Truck driver.
Might be a good thing to do.
And I bet you can write your own ticket because there is just nothing available.
There's a nursing crisis.
Yep.
There's a truck driving crisis.
Yep.
Apparently, there's a food industry crisis because every restaurant we go to, and listen, we eat out a lot.
We don't really eat out a lot.
I feel like we eat out all the time.
Well, let me tell you.
Nope, don't. No, sir. I feel like we do, but everywhere we go, there's help wanted signs in the window. So to all of our friends who don't live in Central Florida, get on down here. There's lots of jobs. Come on.
Lots of jobs.
Come on down.
And good paying jobs.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
they're good.
If you want to drive truck, you can go anywhere that has a port and there's a job for you.
Right.
Anywhere.
Right.
I hate it that I just said drive truck. That is bad grammar, and I did it anyway. Because that's kind of a regional colloquialism where we used to live.
Well, yes, and that was something I grew up hearing all the time.
Right.
Both my dad and my stepdad were truck drivers. My stepdad was truck driver his whole career.
Right.
My dad later in his life became a truck driver, and so I'm very familiar
with
Breaker
the phrase.
Breaker 19.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, Citizen Band Radio and all that stuff. My parents did all that stuff. It was fun and it was a little crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it was a swingers club.
Well, that's what you said.
That's beside the point.
And your mother, when she got a divorce from your father, married a guy who was also in the CB club.
Yeah. So I don't know. Those were just rumors, never confirmed.
Okay, fine. Moving off that topic. Okay, there's one thing that I really want. Go ahead.
Okay.
What? Go ahead.
What do you really want to talk about? Do it.
Well, no. I want to hear what you were going to say first. What
I want to talk about
say?
Briefly. Perception is everything.
Okay. I don't remember, and if you do, message me. Who said, "Be careful who you pretend to be, because that's who people will think you are"?
There you go. So I wanted to talk about this on our podcast for a while.
Okay.
But because I have a conflict of values around this topic, I haven't brought it up before. But then I decided I'll just share my conflict, and then that's my get out of jail free card. If perception is everything, then the way you present yourself matters.
Yes.
So we went, and I there's a couple things I want to talk about: the airport and people in pajamas. I want to talk about jobs and how if you don't have the job you want, and the way you present yourself, it might. Yeah. But I also want to talk about this Gabby. What's her last name?
Petito, the girl that's well, she's not missing anymore. Now she's dead.
They've recovered
been found
her.
dead. Yes.
But perception is everything.
Right.
Including in that case.
Yes. Because
the way the police interview of her looks is that she's crazy and
he's an abuser.
And
that's how it looks.
It's very, very interesting. I want to talk about the airport.
Okay.
Because the last time we flew, I straight saw, like I always see people in their pajamas on the airplane, and listen, for me, it's a no. It's a no. This time, though, usually it's not a grown-ass man.
Right.
This time, though, full-grown adult, presenting as male, so I assume, in pajamas and slippers.
Yep.
Now, maybe he had a medical condition and he had to, I don't know. But here's where my conflict is that I want to talk about.
Okay.
I think authenticity wins every time. So be your authentic self all the time.
So wear pajamas all the time?
If you want to present yourself in the way you want to present this, I'm talking about a conflict of values.
Right.
So keep, and biases, really. So keep up. I really do believe that. And when I'm coaching with people or consulting with a company, we talk a lot about who are you and how can we accurately reflect that to the world.
Sure.
Right? And the way you present yourself, the way you look, what you wear, all that feeds into that. right?
Okay.
People's perception of you.
Right.
Because ain't nobody judgy like an American. And actually, data shows we judge people within about 3 seconds of laying eyes on them.
Oh, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. And so on one hand, be you, and I've brought this up before. I had a conversation with another realtor who was in leadership about someone was complaining because these ladies in the office just don't look professional. I mean, I can see her bra through her shirt, whatever. And I was saying, I don't care if somebody wants to be the bikini realtor.
And I encourage you to do that.
and they want to present themselves that way, right, and let the chips fall where they may. Mm-hmm. But here's my conflict. On the other hand,
all right,
I think you should present yourself, put your best foot forward always.
Well, they are definitely. Well, no, here's what I'm going to say. You believe that you should put your best foot forward.
I don't want to see a grown man in the airport in his pajamas.
Unless that's his authentic self?
See, this is where I have a problem.
When Michael
I'm admitting this in front of everyone.
Jackson went to court in pajamas.
I don't remember that. I must have blocked it from my memory.
He did. I think he was trying to tell the world, hey, I'm crazy. Don't think of me as someone who's normal. I'm crazy. Just like when he danced on the roof of his car outside of the courthouse on the way to his trial. Again, don't think of me like I'm a normal person. I'm Michael Jackson.
Right.
And I think that may have worked in his favor as he was not found guilty of molesting children.
Wow, that went dark really quick.
R. Kelly, on the other hand.
Okay. But back to practical application. Okay.
Yes.
You never know who you're going to run into at the airport. I've picked up clients when I'm traveling.
I have too.
And does it matter if I'm looking professional or I'm looking like a shag nasty?
It does.
I don't know.
It does.
Mean, on one hand, I think it does. And on the other hand, I think it doesn't. And I just have this huge conflict in my brain.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. You're the owner of a consulting firm, a salon, and a successful real estate business. You don't wear pajamas to the airport because looking like that says I'm a meth addict, in my opinion. It doesn't say...
Shots fired. That was oof.
It doesn't say I'm a professional who owns several businesses and want you out to trust me with your business. You are always ready for business. And if you're not, you're in your softies and they're home clothes.
My cozies.
Yes, and that's home clothes.
Sometimes I go out in my cozies.
And the only reason you do is because of all the other people at the Walmart near our home. They're wearing pajamas. Your cozies aren't pajamas, but they're kind of workout clothes kind of stuff. That's different.
Athleisure wear.
Athleisure, that's exactly right. I will not go out of the house in a pair of sweatpants unless I'm going to the gym, period. Won't do it. Sorry.
This is interesting, and I really hope that people give us some feedback on this because I'm curious what other people think. And I know that I would suspect anyway that business owners have a little bit different perspective because, I'm thinking about like our kids who are still pretty young. We have a couple of teenagers and early 20s. And so, they're going out looking for work, and they all know how to present themselves really well.
That's right.
And I think it's because they grew up with professional parents, and I know I taught my kids those skills and dress for the job you want and all those lessons I learned when I was coming up,
That's
not
exactly
from my
right.
parents, but from, people in business.
Right.
And so I just think there is something to it, how you show up matters. I guess show up however you want and know perception is everything. And if you're not getting the results that you're wanting, let's say you're looking for a job or you're trying to close a prospect or, a lead, and you meet with people and you meet time and time and time again, and you're just not getting there. They're not taking you seriously. You're not landing the job. You're not closing the deal. One of the issues could be your presentation.
Absolutely.
Simply the way that you look, how you dress.
The reason businesses have dress codes
Yeah.
The reason they do is because they want to set a standard that their customers can expect.
Right.
The reason everybody at Best Buy is wearing khaki pants and a blue shirt is because that's the tone they've set at Best Buy.
Well, and as a business owner, it standardizes things for you. There are clear parameters for your employees.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to have the conversation with someone about their attire and whether or not it's appropriate for your business place. And, so I think that's smart. And, I used to wardrobe people for a living, and that was really fun. And we were just talking this morning, and I think I'm going to add it to the website because I love dressing people. And I often, when we're watching TV, I think that on national television.
Right.
And there was a better...
I love it when you say, why does Savannah Guthrie look like a 10-year-old girl? Because some of her outfits are crazy. And who's picking them?
Right.
There's somebody doing it.
We saw a commercial this morning, and it was a local commercial for, I think, Lakeland Ford.
That's right.
And their spokesperson, I said to you, I want to call them and beg them to put me in touch with their marketing department so that I can wardrobe their sports spokesperson. I can't talk. Spokesperson, because it could be, the foundation's great. There's a lot there to work with, but whoever's doing it doesn't know what they're doing.
Right. Yes.
Excuse me. And I love wardrobing individuals, but also staff, because whatever the image you want to project can be figured out in the wardrobing of your staff and like uniforms and that kind of thing. And so, So anyway, that was just something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Perception.
And
presentation.
look like your client, right? I dress
you say that, and I think that's smart.
Yeah. Well, I learned that, when I was a young broadcaster, I was a news broadcaster for the majority of my on-air time. The first few years I was doing DJ work and news work, so that was kind of a quasi. But once I became a news guy, shirt and tie every day.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Louisiana Radio Network, which now Jim Angster is the president of that. He still wears a shirt and tie every day. But as part of my job, I became the affiliate relations director as well as news director. And so I found out quickly going to radio stations around the state of Louisiana that wearing a suit with a shirt and tie was a mistake, because the radio station owners did not wear that outfit. They all wore, dress pants and a golf shirt, every single one of them.
Yeah.
So that became my uniform, essentially, for, years and years and years. Then I got into lending. And at the time, all the lenders I knew were wearing a sport coat and a tie. Then I realized that salespeople dressed that way. The presidents of the company are not dressed that way. And I stopped. And now, years later, I wear what the owner of a business wears. These little dress shorts I'm wearing today and my nice dress shirt, that is the owner of a business in Central Florida. That's not the owner of a business in Washington.
Well, you bring up a good point. I'm part of a lot of realtor groups on Facebook, which is back up, which thankfully, but we had the day recently where it went down for a day. And anyway, a lot of these groups, one of the things that does come up from time to time is the way people present themselves.
Yes.
And it can get a little ugly in there. So, lady realtors in Miami have a particular look aesthetic.
They sure do.
Lady realtors in the Pacific Northwest have a particular aesthetic, and there was this guy I remember, he wears polo and golf shorts and flip-flops to his appointments. And he said the reason that he does it is because that's what his clients are wearing. And he's in Arizona or something, some really warm deserty climate. And he said it would be, because someone was trying to call him out for not dressing more professionally.
Right.
He said it would be ridiculous for me to try to do that here. It's hot. Nobody wears that, blah, blah, blah. So I think maybe there's a balance to it. Maybe it depends on your clientele. But being aware of how you're putting yourself together is just as important as the words that come out of your mouth and your mannerisms and having an openness about you.
I absolutely agree with that and have been saying that for years and years and years. And, if I'm calling on a fast food franchisee, I'm probably going to wear a button-up shirt because that guy's wearing a button-up shirt. Mm-hmm. If I'm calling on the owner of a bar, I'm probably going to wear one of my crazy expensive Robert Graham shirts and a pair of jeans. You know what I mean?
I see what
because
you're saying.
Because I want to look like that guy.
Yeah.
And that's, it's simple and it's not contrived. That's my style. Now, there are people who go to a stylist like you would offer and they fashion them to look like them. One of my favorite fashioned people that we know and are friends with is Melanie Spring. She has a very specific style.
Yeah, and she took about 5 years to really develop her personal brand that she felt like accurately reflected who she is and what she wants to present to the world. Right. And, and all that. So, and it is a kind of an ever-evolving thing. Who am I? What am I about?
And she looks consistent every time I see her.
Right.
She looks like Melanie Spring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's great. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have the same kind of thing, Cook, and you've got your own style, and you look very dialed in and very fashion forward everywhere.
It's hard here. My optimal workwear is a pair of jeans with, like a band t-shirt of some kind, a blazer and heels. It's my favorite ever. That doesn't work in Florida all the time.
It's hot though. Yesterday, what you were wearing when you and Andrea went shopping, jeans, the white bodysuit underneath it.
Oh, with my duster, yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, moving on from presentation, I wanted to share that I'm doing something called the High Five Challenge.
Okay, tell me about that.
With Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins just dropped one of the most sought-after motivational speakers currently. She just dropped a new book called The High Five, and this is her first book that I read was called The 5-Second Rule. This one's called The High Five. Maybe it's the High Five Rule. I don't remember. Anyway, she's doing a challenge online. You can find it at highfivechallenge.com. And it's really about finding motivation inside yourself rather than looking for it externally.
Okay.
And the science behind this crazy thing she started doing when she was super depressed after her show got canceled and she didn't know what her next step was, she started high-fiving herself in the mirror.
Okay.
And after a while, it was doing something to her brain, and she started researching it and found out it actually does do something to your brain. So pretty interesting. And if you're a person who's looking for some tools to help motivate yourself and kind of get past some self-doubt, get moving forward, the High Five Challenge might be a great book for you to read, or jump online and join us in the High Five Challenge. And
it's not about high-fiving people. It's about high-fiving yourself.
It's about inner motivation. And I think that's really important. It is for me because I recently had a thing at work that was really bothersome to me. I lost a really important client.
That's the thing I really wanted to talk about in this episode.
And I also had a client that I coach this happened to. And so talking about that motivation and how do you pick yourself up when you've been kicked in the teeth by someone important to you.
Right. And that's hard, right? And you don't want to be, you don't want to come off overly angry because then you seem selfish maybe.
I don't want to come off angry at all because I wasn't angry.
Hurt.
I was hurt.
Right. But it's hard to discuss your feelings with someone who's a valuable customer.
Sure.
Without it coming off awkwardly. So what do you do? That's what I want to talk about. What do you do when someone you revere and have been working with for a long time divorces you as their realtor, their lender. What do? Because that hurts. And for me, I can tell you, I'm a people pleaser. So when I have let someone down, that face you made was priceless. You guys are going to have to watch this on YouTube to see that. Anyway, as a people pleaser, I prefer to make no money at all on a deal if I can facilitate the deal and make the people happy. Well, sometimes, Mark Friedel taught me this rule when I got into lending 20 years ago: never close late, never close ugly. Well, what happens when you close both late and ugly? And it can happen. For instance, if you're doing a jumbo loan, you're probably not underwriting that loan in-house, so you have to depend on the outside underwriter. Well, they could be absolutely off their rocker crazy nuts. But as someone who loves to do deals, I don't ever throw underwriters under the bus. So sometimes when that happens, the deal goes long. That hurts people. That makes people upset. That crushes my soul. So what do you do when you're divorced by a client? How do you get through that?
Well, one thing is to have enough clients in the pipeline that it really doesn't matter. In fact, be so busy that it's a little bit of a relief if somebody lets you go. It never, ever hurts when I'm almost on the edge of overwhelmed because I have so many clients I'm handling and somebody lets me go. That never hurts me.
Okay.
So that would be one thing, is keep busy.
Okay.
Keeping busy actually solves a lot of problems. When I had a team of 16 agents that I was coaching, and they or 19, whatever. Anyway, they would come into my office and, try to complain about each other. And this is what I would say: let's get this other person on the phone or in here right now so we can all talk about it. And if that wasn't possible or they didn't want to, I'd say, hey, how about this? How about you go be so busy with your work, you don't have time for this.
Okay.
There's no time for drama, even internal drama when someone fires you, if you're busy.
I gotcha.
So I would say that, number one. Number two, and something I learned from Ninja Selling, is never be tied to the outcome.
Right.
Never be tied to the outcome. And if you never are tied to, you don't have expectations around the outcome, it's really helpful to stay peaceful, to, be that step down transformer for yourself.
Right.
Stay calm, But what about when it really, really hurts? Well, what about when it's personal?
Okay.
It's your best friend or a family member or somebody you never expected in a million years. That's a little harder, I think, for me anyway. And I had to scream and stomp my feet and cry. And then I sat and got really introspective with myself for about 3 hours in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And I just thought, okay, what am I really upset about here? And I had to dig really hard to figure out why I was really upset. And for me, being fired by that person, who is a member of my family, was embarrassing. It's humiliating when other people in our industry, in our circles, in our friend group know my own family member didn't use me to facilitate a transaction. That's embarrassing,
I gotcha.
Right?
I gotcha.
So I have to deal with my humiliation, and then I get underneath that. Why am I so embarrassed? And why do I care what people think? And being secure in my own thoughts and blah, 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 which led me to find Mel's high five challenge, right? And so the other thing, though, that I realized, I was really pissed off about losing out on the money.
Right.
I'm motivated by money.
Yeah.
Because it gives me choices, because it gives me options. I get to be really generous with the people that I love. I get to be generous with myself. I get to have investments. I get to be involved in businesses. So I love that. And so I'm really motivated by that. And it really pissed me off, honestly. Yeah. So then I have to go, well, I guess you better get busy if you want to replace that business.
I think that's a healthy way to look at things. I don't think I'm healthy because I don't look at things that way. I want to make everybody happy all the time.
I don't.
And if I don't make them happy, it is devastating to me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
I wish I could have more of the money motivation like you, because then it'd be easier. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's good when something external slows down a transaction, like an appraisal or something that I have no control over.
Yeah, this goes back a little bit to personality, and that's why our DISC training is really valuable, because knowing your primary personality is an I personality, which is kind of the party person, motivated by having fun. Greatest fear is rejection.
Yeah.
So if somebody's not happy with you, you feel rejected, and now it's a whole thing.
Right.
For me, as a D personality type, motivated by money,
D.
greatest fear is loss of control.
Right.
So it all kind of fits the profile. Then you can get, deeper and a little nerdier and look at the Enneagram. I'm an 8, you're a 7, and that tracks. It all tracks with how we deal with rejection and all that stuff. And so, yeah, my first response when I get fired by somebody is to say, F you, they're dead to me. Every single time. That's my first response.
Right.
But I quickly coach myself around that, because I don't really mean it.
Right.
And then I want to get underneath. I'm introspective enough that I want to get underneath it. And the reason I want to get underneath it and figure out what's really going on is so that I can rewire my brain so that it doesn't affect me as much going forward.
And I, on the other hand, want to watch television and forget about it and never think about it again, because I have zero introspection skills.
Not healthy.
Which is why you're a great yin to my yang. You talk things through with me.
Yeah.
And you do that with business owners too.
Right.
So you're great at that.
You're good at the macro. I'm good at the micro. And that's what makes us a really outstanding team.
I like that. That was good.
Well, thank you.
Okay. If somebody wants to get in touch with you to talk to you about Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants, how do they do that?
They can call or text. And my phone number is
509-491-2663.
Yes, it is. One more time.
That number again, 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants.
Yes. They can also email me, Londa@SherwoodAustin.com.
Londa@SherwoodAustin.com for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. I want to make it clear, because we do this program to offer insights into business, also to get stuff out of our souls.
Well, and also, I'm taking, we as a firm, we're taking new clients now.
That's exactly right.
I'm through all my surgeries. I think I've had 8 this year.
Right.
I'm through all of them, and we're ready to hit the ground running.
509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. My name is David Austin, and as always, it's a pleasure and a thrill to sit across from my wife, Londa Sherwood Austin, and do this program. What a fun treat. All right, there you have it. There it is. This has been The Session with Londa and David. Talk to you soon.